We live in a world today where 0% interest is very common. Maybe not as common as it used to be because of the Fed lowering interest rates, but it's still common. I'm sure you constantly see offers for 0% credit cards, 0% car loans, and by now I'm also sure you've heard of buy now, pay later. And I have news for you. 0% interest is all an illusion. Make sure you watch this video to find out how 0% interest will cost you in the long run and ways that you can avoid this. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, and if you like this personal finance content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Now, as I've already mentioned, 0% interest is very common. Not quite as common as it used to be a few years back. But still, even today, we see it used as a key marketing tactic to get people to take out credit cards, take out new car loans, and to buy wants. And surprisingly, I see 0% interest talked about in the finance community as a generally positive thing. And sure, there are use cases where it makes sense and where you can come out ahead. But I don't agree that 0% interest has a positive impact on our community, and I don't think it's good for the average person's finances. As they say, there's no such thing as a free lunch. But before we talk about some of the downsides and risks of 0% interest, let's just talk about how 0% interest shows up and works its way into our financial products. And the first one is credit cards. Credit cards are probably the most commonly known financial product that incorporate 0% interest. Typically, a 0% interest credit card will allow you to carry a balance interest-free for an initial introductory period. That introductory period is typically between 12 and 24 months, but it really just depends on your card. That means that if you spend on one of these credit cards and accumulate a balance, you won't have to pay any interest until that introductory period ends. But once that introductory period is over, be careful because your entire balance that you've racked up to that point will start to accrue interest. Now, the second place that we often see 0% interest is buy now, pay later, which is a very new technology that's incorporated to a lot of online shopping that allows consumers to buy their item upfront, but actually make the payments on that item over time. Usually, it allows them to make 4 payments over 4 to 8 weeks. So it's a short-term loan. And the third one is car loans. Now, a lot of these 0% interest car loans have vanished because the Fed has been increasing interest rates, but 0% loans have been a way to incentivize car buyers in the past, and I'm sure they'll come back at some point in the future. And these 0% car loans can either be for the entirety of the loan, a portion of the loan. You just have to make sure you check the terms of your deal and understand what portion of it is actually 0% interest. And again, I just wanted to call this out because it could become common practice again that 0% car loans are offered. And yeah, those are the ways it can show up. So 0% interest sounds pretty great, right? Well, not so fast. One of the biggest misconceptions surrounding 0% interest is that 0% interest equals 0 additional cost. And to break that misconception down, it means that people basically think that financing their lives through 0% interest is the exact same as buying stuff up front in cash in terms of the amount of money that comes out of their pocket. In simpler terms, they think, because I'm not paying interest, I'm paying the same exact amount for stuff that I would normally. And well, the math does kind of line up on that. It does not take consumer behavior into account. As we've already discussed, credit card companies and lenders are not our friends. And I say this as someone who loves to take advantage of credit cards to maximize my spending and get my cash back. But lenders do not offer 0% interest out of the goodness of their hearts. So now that we've identified ways that 0% interest can show up, let's now go through the reasons that it can be absolutely detrimental to your financial health and well-being. Reason number 1, it'll benefit you greatly if you hit the like button. And while you're at it, you might as well hit the subscribe button as well. But in all seriousness, the real reason number 1 that 0% interest costs you in the long run is increased spending, lifestyle creep, and desensitizing consumers to large prices. To me, this is the biggest reason on here, and I don't see it talked about enough. When we finance something, whether it's 0% or any other loan that has interest with it, it removes our brain's connection from the actual purchase because we aren't paying that money up front. And for some reason, that makes us not feel the pain associated with spending our hard-earned money. And as buyers, this makes us put our guards down, which usually results in us spending more money than we would have otherwise. And on top of that, adding 0% interest to it just makes it more dangerous because we feel as though there's no downside to us taking out a loan. But even if we're not paying interest, it can still cost us more than it would have if we didn't finance it. And we have to ask ourselves, if I wasn't taking out a loan for this, could I still afford it? And would I still even want to buy it? If the answer is no, then you shouldn't buy it with a loan, even if it's 0% interest. In the car market, this leads to consumers being oversold and buying cars they cannot afford. Again, 0% interest is used used to make them feel as though they're getting a great deal and there's no added cost, but in reality, they're buying a much more expensive car than they would have if they had paid for it in cash. And similar to that, buy now, pay later companies take away the pain of buying a good by allowing consumers to not spend all the money up front. If companies can find a way to get you your item up front but have you pay over time, it means you're less likely to click away from the page and not purchase. Again, even though you pay no interest, there's added cost to you because you're buying more things that you cannot afford. Oh, and let's not forget about those pesky credit card companies. Because consumers have 0% interest credit cards, they view that as free money, which leads to them overspending. And again, as I'm sure you can guess, buying things they cannot afford. And in some cases, building up a balance that becomes difficult to pay off, which we'll talk about later on in this video. And reason number 2 that 0% interest can end up costing you in the long run is hidden terms and fees. Like I said, lenders are offering 0% interest for a reason. They have an agenda, and that agenda is to make money off of you. Just in case it wasn't already clear enough, it makes you looser with your wallet, which we just discussed in reason 1. But they also have tactics built into the products to get you to pay fees directly to them, even on 0% interest products. And example 1, which again is the biggest example, is credit cards. Like we talked about before, 0% interest credit cards lure people in with a very attractive initial offer, which has an introductory period that allows them to carry a balance with 0% interest. And because of that, individuals start racking up balances on these cards, and they keep growing those balances bigger and bigger without paying them off because there's no interest on them yet. But all good things have to come to an end. With all 0% interest credit cards, that introductory period will eventually end, and you will start to be charged interest on your entire balance. So simply, credit card companies use the 0% interest practice as a predatory practice to get people to sign up for these cards, to lure them in, to get them to build up these balances, and then eventually charge them interest on that balance. If I haven't made it clear already, these guys are not your friends. So be careful. Don't use 0% interest credit cards to make purchases that you can't afford. You may find yourself with a large loan with a high interest rate that you're not able to pay off. As another example, you will also be charged interest and your credit score will be impacted if you fail to make an on-time payment for a buy now, pay later service. Now this one's interesting because I don't think buy now, pay later companies are trying to get you to miss payments so they can charge you interest. They're simply trying to incentivize you to buy more products and get value out of you that way. But you still need to be on high alert because missing these payments will still have detrimental effects to your financial well-being. In my opinion, just avoid using buy now, pay later services altogether. If you need one to buy something, it probably means you cannot afford it. And again, let's just summarize, 0% interest is not here to benefit you. It's a marketing tactic to get you to overspend and pay hidden interest and hidden fees. Companies invest billions and billions into these services and these products to increase their revenue, which is also known as you spending more money. I feel like day to day, I hear more and more people saying something like, oh, I have this loan and I have that loan, but it's 0% interest, so that makes it all okay. And no, it's not okay. Those loans are still causing you to overspend, and they're eating up your income and not allowing you to invest in things that will ultimately make you rich and allow you to accomplish your goals. So please, make sure you're being super careful with 0% interest and you're not using it to overspend and to over leverage your life. Well, I digress. Let me know what your thoughts on 0% interest are down in the comments. Is 0% interest something you use? Do you agree with my points? Do you like to take advantage of 0% interest? Let me know and let's have a discussion about it. And as always, guys, if you like the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more personal finance content just like this. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.